So Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced came out recently, and well, I've been playing it a lot. And I got a lot to say about it, because every game, no matter what it is, has to answer the same question. Is it worth spending your money on? And well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit and hopefully help you guys make that decision. So let's go ahead and talk about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced.
Mr. Walpole, let's collect your reward.
I have a lot of attachment to Assassin's Creed games. They come with a lot of nostalgia for me. Growing up, I only had a DS and a 3DS, and Assassin's Creed Black Flag was the first game I ever played on a console. And like most people, it's my favorite Assassin's Creed game. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite games of all time. It's one of the first games that I remember getting lost in. I spent hours on it. I went to every island, I collected every collectible, I just loved it. I remember on my Xbox 360, I didn't know how to save on the hard drive. Yeah, I didn't have much going on for me as a kid. So whenever I'd leave and had to stop playing the game, I would just leave my Xbox on so my progress wouldn't be deleted. But when I finally learned how to save, I could not put this game down. And so ever since then, I've been through this series through thick and through thin. And for better or for worse, I've played every single game in the series besides the last two. When the series first got rebooted with Assassin's Creed Origins, I was a big fan of the changes they made. It was a lot different from the original Assassin's Creed games, but I did not mind the changes and I had a good time with the game. I even enjoyed Odyssey. Even though it's a terrible Assassin's Creed game, it's honestly a pretty good RPG. And then I played Valhalla. I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I hated that game. It was just the biggest nothing burger that I've ever played. The open world was beautiful, but it felt very empty. Even though it had all these objectives on the map, it felt pointless. The story was this long, drawn-out mess that I just found myself not caring about at all. The characters in the game were unremarkable, and the main character Ivor, honestly, I do not remember him saying a single word. And just like Odyssey, it really was not an Assassin's Creed game. But at least Odyssey actually felt like a fun game to play. So Valhalla left a really bad taste in my mouth. And eventually Assassin's Creed Mirage was announced, and even though I wasn't very excited for it, I still decided to pick it up. And I played about 5 hours of it, and I put it down because it was really boring. And then Assassin's Creed Shadows came out, and it looked good from the trailers, and it was set in feudal Japan, which is always a great setting for a video game. So I thought, you know what, let me give it one more chance. And boy did I waste my money. I played about 10 hours of it, got bored, and went on to different things just like Mirage. I was tired of these bloated open worlds, boring stories, uninteresting characters, and these gross robotic cutscenes. After that point, I really thought I would just give up on this series. I thought, well, maybe Father Time just finally caught up to Assassin's Creed. But I saw this. My initial reaction was excitement. I mean, who wouldn't want one of their favorite games to be remade? But as more and more came out about this game, I progressively got more worried. There was a lot of news coming out that I might be borrowing a lot from modern Assassin's Creed games. And obviously this scared me, and I got really worried for this game. We have a lot of remakes coming out nowadays, and some are good, some are bad, and I felt like this one might end up in the bad pile. And honestly, I haven't played Black Flag in a while, so I was kind of worried that it wouldn't hold up. But once July 9th rolled around, I thought I'd give my own leap of faith and give it a try. So we'll talk about the good, and we'll talk about the bad, and we'll decide if Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is a good remake. First, let's start off with the good. And probably the most obvious one that people can see just by looking at it is this game is beautiful. I mean, just take a second and give it a look. The towns, the seas, the plants, the trees, everything is just so vibrant. The waves feel so alive, and you'll see whales and dolphins jumping up in the water. It truly feels like you are sailing the Caribbean. Whether you're on an island in the middle of the ocean, hearing the waves and the animals in the background, or when you're walking in one of the cities and seeing all the people and hearing their conversations, this game is really good at sucking you in and making you feel like you're in that world. It's definitely the best looking Assassin's Creed game and one of the best looking games, period, out right now. And say what you will about Ubisoft and modern Assassin's Creed games, but they know how to make a pretty looking game. They just sometimes forget the actual game part. The character models, the outfits, your ship, the weapons, everything feels so much better than it ever did on the original game. And all of these visual upgrades feel like a massive leap from the original. And that's nothing against the original game. It holds up really well looking back at it. But at the end of the day, it is a PS3 game, and you can tell. And this game is very faithful to the original game. The open world is completely the same from my understanding. Nothing from the story has changed, and all the cutscenes of the original motion capture just redone. And although those changes are there, the good and the bad, they don't really alter the game at all or make the experience worse compared to the original game. But I'm sure you heard that word in there. There are changes. I don't want to keep you on the edge of your seat, so I'll just tell you, most of them are good. So we'll talk about those first before we get into the bad ones. One of the biggest changes that this game made other than the visuals is the game's combat. Up until the modern Assassin's Creed games, the combat has felt very serviceable. It's nothing revolutionary, the combat has always felt there and just okay. But towards the end of those older games, the combat always feels very tedious and boring. And before its release, the rumor was it was going to adopt the same modern Assassin's Creed combat. And this was one of the first things I heard they were going to change, and it scared me. And while the combat in those games isn't necessarily bad, enemies tend to be very spongy and your attacks often feel like they're doing nothing. But everyone can take a deep breath because that's not what they did. But they did still change it. The new combat is better than the original, but it's still not good. It feels like they took the combat from the modern AC games and the old one and fused them together. It takes the look, the feel, and the defense bar from the modern Assassin's Creed games and combines it with the more simple and animation-based system of the original. I know some people feel differently, but I like it more than the original for sure. But like I said, it's not perfect. It's definitely more intuitive and engaging than the original, but it still tends to feel a bit boring and tedious. It starts to feel like it could be doing a lot more than it does. If you wanted to, you could button mash and occasionally parry your whole way through the game. The game does offer some additional ways to spice things up, but they never feel like they're necessary or like the game ever expects you to do them. They added things like kicking and tripping the enemies, but I felt like they didn't really mesh well with the combat system, and I just ended up not using them ever. If you like the original, you probably won't mind it, but if you don't like the modern Assassin's Creed games, I don't think you'll enjoy it. They also added some small new things to ship combat, but don't worry, it's nothing big and it's mostly the same. The largest changes are the officer perks that you get. The officers are a new addition to the game that we'll talk about later, but essentially what they do is they give you new abilities and weapons for the ship. There's the perfect brace, which makes attacks take less damage if you time it right. There's a new ram ability that I found myself having a really good time with. It was so satisfying to one-shot every ship with it and see it fly off. And lastly, there's another ability that adds another option for your mortar. This one to me was the weakest one. You kind of just can control where your mortar is firing, but it's there, I guess. Other than those, it's the exact same and it still feels great. Ubisoft was really cooking when they made this. It holds up incredibly well, and with all the new visual upgrades, it looks and it feels better than it ever has. But they made a change that is very small but very big that a lot of people, including myself, were very happy to see. And it is, drum roll, no more tailing missions. I know a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that. I was happy to hear that. Tailing missions plague old Assassin's Creed games, and especially this one. Tailing missions in those games, and just tailing missions in general, are to me some of the laziest mission design a game can have. And each one you did in the original just felt like a big drag, and it slowed down gameplay a lot. But everyone can take a deep breath because they're gone. The missions themselves are still there, but you no longer have to tail them. You can just kill them and then loot a piece of paper that will give you information about the objective. And man, did it feel good. And I know a lot of people will be happy to hear that as well. And the last of the changes I'll talk about are just kind of small things that add up to change the experience. There's a lot of quality of life changes and just small things that modernize an old game. The open world is completely seamless. There's no load screens into islands or cities. They added this really cool weather system to the game. I'm sure they made some cool system for it. The weather feels very lifelike. You can see it in the sky and the water, how everything changes as it starts and it slows down. Or whether you're out in the ocean on your ship or in a city or an island, it feels very immersive. They've changed the stealth in this game too. As far as I can tell, it feels the same as Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's nowhere near as good as 007 or Last of Us, but it's definitely better than the original. But it can be very easy. I played this game on hard and it definitely didn't feel that way. They also added new weapons and trinkets that work the same as they do in all the other Assassin's Creed games. Overall, small things that I don't feel diehard fans of the original will be mad at. They're all small but impactful, and I would say improve your experience overall. Maybe some people would say this is a cop out, but I think the best thing this game does is just give you more Black Flag. This story holds up a lot better than I thought it did. Edward as a main character is such a breath of fresh air compared to what we've been getting from this series. He's fun and entertaining, but still grounded, and you always feel like you can root for him. His character arc throughout the game is engaging, and it has a very satisfying payoff at the end. Most of the game's side characters are all memorable and fun to interact with throughout the game. The main story itself hooks you, and it flows really nicely throughout the playthrough. It just feels so much higher quality than what we've gotten over the past couple years with Assassin's Creed. Most of those games' characters for me were boring and forgettable, and the stories always felt super flat. It was refreshing to have an Assassin's Creed game with a good story and good characters. There's something about this game's gameplay loop that is so addicting. This game's open world is pretty big. There is a lot to do, see, and collect. But because you always feel the need to upgrade your ship, the open world never feels big just for the sake of being big. You want to go to that next island, you want to grab those chests, you want to find the treasure because you want your ship to be more powerful. I went to each island in this game, I collected every chest, every treasure map, and I never felt like I was doing it just for the sake of doing it. The open world felt like a genuine thing that I had to explore to enjoy this game fully. And that's something you don't see in a lot of open world games. And of course we talked about the ship combat, it's still as good as ever. And it's kind of crazy that we still, up to this point, have not gotten anything that even compares to this game in terms of ship combat. This game's side activities are also really fun to do. You can go deep sea diving in shipwrecks to find chests, which look even better with this game's visuals. There's also whale and shark hunting that you can do, which I obviously don't agree with the practice itself, but it is a pretty fun mini game, I'm not gonna lie. While maybe it's not correct to praise the remake for being exactly like the original, but come on, Black Flag is Black Flag, and it is pretty good. Unfortunately, it can't all be positive. There are a couple bad things with this remake. Luckily, there aren't a lot, but they do stand out and feel pretty out of place. The first one are the officers, which are this game's biggest piece of new content. There are 3 new officers that can join you on the Jackdaw. There's Lucy Baldwin, the Padre, and Deadman. At a certain point in the game, Edward will mention that he wants to recruit new people for the Jackdaw. So you'll go out and find these people. They each have their own 3 separate quest lines, where you'll convince them to join you and they'll give you their abilities in return for the Jackdaw. It is unfortunate because, like I mentioned before, the abilities that they give you are genuinely useful, but the quest lines they're attached to just are not good. They're all original content and they do a very bad job at blending it into the original game. Each of their 3 stories are okay, they're nothing terrible, but you definitely won't be blown away by it at all. And their stories are not the problem at all. The biggest problem is how they're told. They unfortunately use the ugly robot cutscene system from the modern AC games. And man, do they look, feel, and sound terrible compared to this game's motion captured scenes.
Ahoy, Dove. How are you feeling?
No worse. Just a bit of nausea that won't let go. Have you been at the pub?
I only had 1 pint to save up some coin so I could bring you this.
Is it chocolate?
Aye. It's from the Americas. I mixed it myself. Go on, have a taste. Passage out of here. Quickly.
I don't know you from Blind Bart.
I need a shipwright. And you're in need of better lodgings. That's it. Time to go. It's me or the hangman.
You make a fine argument. Lead on.
And you can tell straight away there's something so unnatural about the way these characters move and talk. And I'm pretty sure people who haven't played the original can tell that this is out of place somehow. And the first two that are available to you about a quarter way through the game are Lucy Baldwin and the Padre. While playing them, their issues were very apparent, but they were pretty short, so I was willing to let it slide. But the third one you do with Deadman is genuinely so bad. Like, so bad that I'm surprised they even let it release that way. I don't want to spoil anything, but essentially you unlock the third one at a later part in the game, about 90% through. And up until that point, Edward goes through a very obvious character arc. He goes through something that makes his arc very justified and satisfying. And literally that whole entire arc is disregarded and thrown away in the first mission of the third officer. And after that, I just could not let it slide. Yeah, so overall, they're pretty bad, and odds are you're not going to like them either. But giving them the benefit of the doubt, they are pretty short, and they do give you some pretty useful abilities in the end. And luckily, not all the new side content is bad. Again, without giving anything away, they add some new story for some side characters in the game. They feel like they changed the story in a very meaningful way. So yeah, the new side content is overall bad, but not all bad. And luckily it is all short, so it won't take up too much of your time. The next negative is how they changed the modern day out of the Animus stuff from the original game. I was originally very curious to see how they were going to do this, because the modern AC games really don't care about the modern day. And yep, they changed it alright. They basically left it out, but left a tiny little remnant of it, and it just feels lazy and I don't really like it. In the original, you would occasionally be pulled out of the Animus to do the modern day stuff, and like most people, you would just do it as fast as possible so you could go back to being a pirate. And yeah, I didn't like them, and I wanted to see them changed, but they just gave a very half-assed attempt. They replaced them with these what-if riffs that play out different scenarios for Edward and his choices. And they're done in these trippy, out-of-body, computery type of way. I don't really know how to explain it, but you'll see and you'll kind of get what I'm saying. Now, this would be fine if they were done in a good way, but it's Ubisoft, so they gotta do something wrong, obviously. These riffs are optional, and they all have time limits that'll be swapped out once it expires. And when you complete these riffs, you get points to pay for cosmetics in the other Assassin's Creed games. And that's my problem with it. It just doesn't feel genuine. It just feels like they want to make you spend money on the other games. And I just flat out ignored them. I really dislike this practice in video games. And this bleeds into my other point. This game constantly is promoting cosmetics and microtransactions. So yeah, unfortunately, those did make their way into the game. And it is very annoying to see them pop up on your screen every single time. And it is disappointing to see. It made me a little upset, as I'm sure it'll make a lot of other people upset. Even though it's frustrating, they are all cosmetic, and you never feel like you have to spend money to fully enjoy the game. I mean, it is what it is, and it's kind of an unfortunate truth. And the last complaint is that they did not remake the Freedom Cry DLC and the multiplayer, which obviously was kind of expected. I never played the original Freedom Cry DLC, so I personally don't have the biggest issue with it. But I know some people might, so I just thought I'd mention it, buyer beware. And that's all the complaints I had. Now, I don't want to defend the issues with it, but it could have been a lot worse, trust me. And as a big fan of the original, I did not have a massive issue with any of these that made me not want to play the game. So I would assume that most people would not either. But I know there's always going to be that one guy. So I think we've talked enough, and it's time to answer the question. Is this game worth your money? And for the most part, I would say yes it is. And I promise I'm not blinded by nostalgia or my love for this game. I genuinely feel that with all this game's changes, the good and the bad, that Resynced is going to give you a better time than the original. Whether you're a diehard fan or a first-time player, I think this is the definitive way to play this game. I'm not dogging the original or anything, but I think that you'd be leaving a lot of food on the table if you didn't experience the game this way. And the game is only $60, which is good to hear, especially with the way things are now. So I'd honestly, genuinely recommend this game to new players, returning players, and mostly to people who miss good Assassin's Creed games. And personally, I really enjoyed it. It brought back so much memories and nostalgia from when I first played this game when I was a kid. And it was a joy to play in what I consider a better version. It reconfirmed and it strengthened all my feelings towards this game. However, I do not really consider this game a true remake. I think it's better to look at this game as a really high quality remaster. It's largely the exact same game, and the changes it did make, when you put it in perspective, are pretty small. It's basically exactly what they did with The Last of Us Part 1 remake. They gave us the exact same game, but with just the visuals of Part 2, and that's exactly what Resynced did. Gave us the same game for the most part, with the modern look and feel of the new Assassin's Creed games. But I'll still take it either way. Just thought I'd say that though. And once the credits rolled on this game, it got me excited for the future Assassin's Creed games, which was kind of hard to admit, unfortunately. I don't really want to put too much faith in this series because I have before and it did not pay off at all. This game was a massive financial success for Ubisoft. At the time of me recording this video, it sold around 3 million copies in the first couple weeks of being out. And I really hope that Ubisoft isn't just using this as a quick cash grab and instead has genuine intentions for the future of this series. I hope they're able to recognize why this game did so well and what people love from it, and use that to improve on their games in the future. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see for that. And another thing this game did is make me want to go back to those games that I did not like very much. I got a feeling to retry Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is a sentence I thought I'd never say. But I'm gonna have to give that a lot of thought and see if I want to put myself through that, because it's a big ask. And to finally end this video, I liked Assassin's Creed Resynced. I think you should buy it, but if you don't, it's your money and it's fine. So yeah, bye.